Wow. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of Deliver Us, the newest film from directors Ennis and Kunz. Okay, everyone. Wow. So this film, Deliver Us, is a new film that's a horror religious film in a lot of respects, similar to like The Exorcist, if I guess you could say, where it's a story of a young nun who basically has an immaculate pregnancy. Where basically she had no husband or father, and she is now going to give birth to two kids. Of course, if you know the story, it's the birth of the Messiah and, of course, the Antichrist. Well, a religious cult wants the Antichrist. They will stop at nothing to do it. A young priest is sent in to basically save her and rescue her, and it turns into a story about what would you do if you could stop the Antichrist from taking over the world. Would you do that? How do priests and nuns and everybody involved, like, how they deal with that? And it also deals with nightmare psychology and the fact that these individuals, especially the main priest, who's actually played by one of the directors, starts to see things. And yeah, things start to happen. Like I said, religious cults is very much in that realm of like crazy, insane, religious horror films in a lot of respects. Okay, so I really didn't know much about this film, to be fairly honest. I didn't know what I was going to get myself into. It's something that I heard was a pretty decent film. You know, I like good horror religious films because I think religion fits really, really well into horror aspects when it comes to, the idea of Christianity or Catholicism and stuff like that. We've seen a lot of films that are in this realm, like The Omen or, The Exorcist, where it's just a really interesting, like, tap potential of, creating some really kind of disturbing content. A lot of these films, especially films like this, or like I said, films like The Omen, deal with kind of the abusive nature of how kids are looked upon in a world that like puts them in a particular box. So you have a particular religion that wants kids to do this, it wants kids to do that. They end up like growing up to be just like their parents, which could be a negative or positive. So what I gather from seeing, like, reading about the content of this film is that's what it was going for. It was going for like, what choices do you make and how do you impact the kids, in the long run? And that's kind of like what The Omen or The Exorcist or Rosemary's Baby was doing in a lot of aspects, while adding that really great horror touch. And so with that said, I just wanted to see if this movie was any good. So for my honest opinion of this movie is something, to be fairly honest. It has some issues. It really does when it comes to the storytelling aspects. I think it's a little lesser than a Rosemary's Baby or The Omen. But the visuals are super striking. It's super graphic when it comes to the violence. It's uncomfortable. It's unsettling. But it also is very, very effective. So therefore, I think if you like these types of films, like the Rosemary Baby or Omen or The Exorcist or something like that, I think you will truly enjoy this film, because it really is a film that definitely takes its material and actually goes for it, so it doesn't hold back on what it's doing. There are points in this movie, especially the first few minutes of this movie, where it's just some of the most insane stuff you'll ever see, and it does stuff that goes in a really disturbing nature. But that's the type of film this film is setting out to be, and therefore I think it actually does work and is very effective. Like I said, I was pretty shocked with the first like 3 minutes of this film, because it's pretty crazy. And then the film has, its storytelling aspects. It brings in that priest that's played by Kunz. You of course meet the nun who's pregnant. There is some stuff, like I said, when it comes to like how the story progresses. The story with Thomas Kretschmann's character, who of course you might see from the Avengers films and stuff like that. And I don't think that entirely works. I don't think it's entirely successful. I think some of the story gets bogged down by the level of like scripting that these two writers did and just how they kind of work it in. But once again, this film actually works more on a visceral level, which I found really, really effective. I thought was really fun. I think everybody in the film is really fantastic and really does a nice job. You have people like Alexander Siddig, who is, of course, a pope in a lot of respects. Or not a pope, but a Catholic cardinal. And he does a really nice job in like how his kind of mentality is his nature of who he is starts to turn as the movie moves along. And the same thing with the Leroy Kunz character and the young woman. There's just so many interesting things about what this film is trying to do that it doesn't let go for like the hour and 40-minute runtime that's happening. And I just found that really effective. It takes a lot for me to be truly kind of affected by a movie, and when it works, I think it truly does work. And I think it does here. There is some stuff in this movie that, like I said, with the beginning and with the end, and kind of stuff with the dream action sequences that happen that are so effective that they just kind of overshadow the whole story, which for better or worse, you might, you know, if you love Rosemary's Baby or like The Exorcist or something like that, I think it might be a little bit problematic for you. But I think it's effective on just what the directors and what the cinematographer and stuff like that are doing. They never go for cheap thrills or cheap uncomfortable nature, stuff like that. They go for like authentic kind of horror vibes and authentic religious horror vibes, that it truly works on that kind of effective nature alone. And therefore, I think the film really does work. I just wish it was a little bit better story. Like I said, it doesn't end like on a, man, did they really have to end it there? It just kind of, there's some things in there, like I said, especially with the cult stuff, that I just don't think entirely works. But I think it makes up for it in the visceral nature. So it's a movie I think worth watching if you want to see a film like this. You know, going in, it's a very hard R. There's a lot of nudity. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of language. It's something that will truly unsettle you. But I think if you like these types of films, I think this is a true winner. So therefore, yeah, I think it does definitely work on its low budget nature, and definitely has a really, really cool sense to it. So therefore, I definitely recommend it for that type of situational, I guess you could say. So with that said, that's pretty much where I'm going to lie on this film, Deliver Us. Once again, great performances, great visceral work. Could do a little bit of working on the script. So anyways, with that said, thank you so much for watching. Comments below. Are you planning on seeing this film? What's your favorite, like, kind of horror religious type of film? You know, is it something like this, or is it something like, you know, said Rosemary's Baby and stuff like that? So let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, if you like what you see on the channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at top to find what's coming next. If you liked this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.